If you want to drive a change, that change has to come from you. You cannot sit back and externalize the change and say, oh, the world has to change.
Welcome back to Let's Ascend, a channel where you get perspectives on rising up in your personal and professional life. My today's guest is Ritesh Chopra, who's a partner and chief operating officer for KPMG Global Services. Ritesh has had an exploratory career spanning over 2 decades, where he worked in several organizations across 2 countries. During my conversations with Ritesh, I picked up 4 extremely valuable life lessons that helped him rise up in his career. And in line with the tradition of Let's Ascend, Ritesh summarized his journey through a beautiful song that I sang on his behalf. So I hope you enjoy this video. So welcome Ritesh. Thank you so much for taking out time for Let's Ascend. It's a channel where we try to capture rising up lessons from accomplished people like you. So I'm really grateful to you for taking out time today for us. I think it'll be great for the audience, Ritesh, if you could just talk us through your journey so far.
Sure, Vishal, and thank you for hosting me on this show. It's my pleasure to be associated with you and this particular show. So I grew up in Delhi. Went to a school which was not so well known at that time. Went to college, did my post-graduation, all within a radius of about 5 kilometers from home. So I was lucky in a regard that stayed within the radius of what was a safety zone, but at the same time didn't get the chance to explore the world when a lot of people actually did at that age. I was given the liberty by my parents and the platform by the school, college, etc., to pick up things which interested me, what came to mind, what I would like to do. I'm really thankful to my parents, my teachers, everyone who helped me form my journey and go through my journey at my own pace. If I go back to my MBA days, and once I finished was at the end of my MBA program, the campus season, the most exciting time of when you are a 23-year-old and you're sitting in for interviews. Till that time, in my mind, I wanted to be a sales guy for a fast-moving consumer goods company. So for me, it was, I would go out, sell in the market, the action that's there. First company that came, luckily, was an FMCG company, and guess what? I didn't clear the interview. Highly dejected, thinking what's going to happen to me day one of campus not getting placed. A consulting company came on to the campus. Until that time, for me, consulting was this big buzzword which I never was interested in. But somehow sat for the pre-placement talk, got interested in the role, joined that company, and that was the start of my last 25 years of working till now. That company, Holtec Consulting, it was focused on cement sector, and a large part of the work was around feasibility studies and market entry strategies, distribution strategies. Great learning experience. I think getting into the nuts and bolts of looking at data, working with clients, going to the field, getting information. From there, moved on to what is now known as Genpact. An offer came to me saying that, do you want to be a project manager in e-learning? Consulting, e-learning, no linkages there. I think the interaction that I had with the company and what I had heard of Jekis at that time, GE actually, was really interesting. So I took a leap of faith, took that jump, started getting trained in e-learning, and 15 days into that, vice presidents there came to me and said, I've sold a project. This is not being done anywhere, but do you want to come and try it? This was basically the start of research for Jekis. And I'm talking about 2001. The time Google was not in the form that it is there. Search was not as easy as what it is now. And I hadn't heard of this concept at all. This is a point in one's life where somebody believes that you can do something which you yourself don't. And somebody took a leap of faith on me and said, let's go ahead and set this up. Did that, went on, the journey expanded from research to analytics, worked with many different GE businesses and industrial side of the world. Grew the team from one person, which I started off, to about 150, 200 people. That's when Jekis became Genpact. And somewhere the salesman role still was knocking on my head, saying that you need to do some sales. So I took up a role to do sales for the analytics and research side of the business, and moved to US. There I think spent good 15, 18 months working across multiple industries, gauge the interest that are they interested in doing research, are they interested in doing analytics, and creating a awareness that there is a company that can do this for you. For some reasons, I came back to India at that time, and I joined Prudential's Knowledge Center. Ran the Knowledge Center for 3 years. Moved on to Capgemini again, where multiple different cultures exist because of the geographies that you work with. Being able to manage the changing platform, the changing landscape of culture while you are doing business was something which I cherish from my entire time at Cap. Moving on from there, joined KPMG in my current organization, where I am in KPMG Global Services. Was hired to lead the knowledge part of the business, which is now known as Capability Hubs. It was a team of about 400 people doing a lot of research work, a little bit of creative work, sales support work. Went on to grow that team. The team is today over 1,000 people. But while I was doing that, in that journey, about three and a half years in the journey, I was asked that, do you want to take up a new role, which was the Chief Operating Officer of KGS. In that role, I'm responsible for finance, IT, facilities. Never done that before. But being on the other side, being a provider of these facilities and services was something which was tempting enough. But at the same time, a part of me did not want to get away from delivery. So I had a discussion with my current boss, and I told him, I said, I want to keep both my roles. If that works, then it's great. And thankfully, he did trust me with that. And today, that's what I'm doing right now. For the last 8 odd years, I've been with KPMG. Currently, I'm playing two roles, managing a business unit as well as the Chief Operating Officer for KGS. These are my daughters. So I have a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old. So both of them have turned vegetarian. The reason they've turned vegetarian is because they've been reading about the impact of different things on the environment and how cruelty to animals, etc., can impact the overall planet. And I think the education around what we are doing to the environment right now can lead to future problems, etc. So while they've taken that decision, one of my daughters, the older one's actually even taken a harsher step of not using an air conditioner because she feels that it's going to impact the environment. Living in Delhi, that can be tough. But I think if you want to drive a change, that change has to come from you. You cannot sit back and externalize the change and say, the world has to change. We have to look at a green world. We have to go back and the world should change. We should use less plastics. You need to start first yourself. And I think that if you bring back into your corporate life, it is very easy for us to sit back and think that this problem is somebody else's doing. That person's supposed to go out and solve the problem. I will only act when it comes to me. That's very easy to externalize the entire thing and not worry about it. But if you really want to succeed, if you really want to do well, I think you need to take charge. You need to first make that change within yourself, because that's the biggest area of impact that you can do. And then you have the right to go out and tell people what they need to do. My dad was in sales, and that's why probably I wanted to do sales in my life. And I think when he was about to retire, we all were worried, like his life has always been full of action. What will he do after retirement? But the way I saw him transition into retirement and accept the change in life made me believe that there is no possible change that you cannot accept. And if you're ready to accept it, you will do that. And that's why, to your point, all the role changes that I went through, all the city changes that I went through were something which somewhere at the back of the mind, that was a strength that played on my mind. I think the last 18 months of the pandemic really taught me one thing, which is if you have the right team in place, you can take care of any challenge that comes your way. So when the pandemic started, we in KPMG in India formed a team which had people from all teams that were required to be there on one call, which is, we had people from IT, HR, risk, legal, operations, facilities, travel. This core team was formed with the idea that you are empowered to take decisions on the basis of your knowledge, which could impact close to 25,000-30,000 people. And once you have people who are empowered and on a common platform, I think you can look at every problem objectively, you can evaluate, and you can work together as a team to deliver that. So I think never shy away from saying that I don't know everything. I need a subject matter expert, and give that person the room and the space to deliver and to add value to what you're doing. What my current boss commonly says, Samir Chadha, every action you do is seen by many people, and they will try and either imbibe it or will come back to talk about how you behave in a certain situation. And as you grow up in your corporate ladder, that becomes more and more important. So what you are doing there, what you say, how you behave, how you interact, is something that is always being looked at by somebody either for an inspiration or trying to find out how can they do better. This was a stand-up comedy show. And, being a corporate event, there are certain boundaries that one needs to maintain in terms of what can you say and what you can't say. It's in spite of doing all sorts of briefing with this particular person, the person went off script. And we had the leadership team of the firm sitting in that event. 200, 300 odd people there in the room who are looking at, is this acceptable? Is that something is okay with the firm that this is happening? And can we do that when we go back to our flow? What is that line we need to draw from a morality perspective, from a decency perspective? I think we as a leadership at that time, some of us actually got up and tried to indicate to the speaker that, you are crossing the line and let's cut the session. The message didn't go through. Finally, we had to take a little bolder step, but it was important to do that because had we not done that, that is where the leadership shadow is talking about, that people would have believed that this is absolutely acceptable for me to do it. If the leaders sitting there are seeing what's happening, laughing around with what's happening, then I can cross these lines with people back in my office. What you do and what you accept and what you let it happen, that becomes a norm. And that's the shadow you need to be extremely careful of before it becomes an eclipse, actually. The thing that I have in mind that whatever action you're doing, if you can go back, one, sleep peacefully that night thinking that I've done the right thing, that's a check you have in mind. Second, if that thing, whatever action you've done, if you can stand up against a beloved one, be it your spouse, be it your parent, or be it your child, whoever, and explain your action and not be ashamed of it, then go ahead and do it. But if the moment you have integrity missing in your actions and missing in how you interact with people, one, people will stop trusting you. Second, you yourself will start losing your confidence that you're doing the right thing.
We would like to conclude every video with a song that best represents your life journey or the principles that you believe in. So it'll be great if you could, one, share us the song that you believe is representative of your journey and your principles, and second, it'll be terrific if you sing that for us.
Well, the second one I can answer easily. If I start singing, Vishal, believe me, a lot of people will switch off the speakers of their laptops when they're listening to what I'm going to talk about. But song, I guess, one that really comes to my mind is this song from this movie, a Shah Rukh Khan movie, Swadesh, which goes about "Yun hi chala chal," and I guess if you look at that song, it talks about the journey one goes through one's life, and and during that journey you will come up with many. And when I was talking about my life experience, you would have seen there are a lot of those turns where you don't know what's lying ahead. There are times which you are going down a path and you take a turn and you see a very different part of the world which probably never was there. So that song for that has relevance in my mind. I think the other thing that really stands out in my mind is in the video. If you see, there is this navigator who's sitting with him in the van, and he's not a typical navigator, but and that's what goes back to the point I was talking about, that you're learning and somebody who will show you a direction can come from anywhere. Don't restrict yourself to thinking that my learning will only come from the training programs or books that I read. Every opportunity in life will give you a chance to learn something new. So pick that up, will give you a direction in life. Take that, go down the path. Don't restrict yourself going down just the path which has been driven or walked by many people before you. Make your own path and make your own journey is something which this song brings that concept to life.
यूं ही चला चल रही, यूं ही चला चल रही, कितनी हसीन है ये दुनिया। भूल सारे झमेले, देख फूलों के मेले, बड़ी रंगीन है ये दुनिया। ये रास्ता है कह रहा अब मुझसे, मिलने को है कोई कहीं अब तुझसे। ये रास्ता है कह रहा अब मुझसे, मिलने को है कोई कहीं अब तुझसे। यूं ही चला चल रही, यूं ही चला चल रही, कितनी हसीन है ये दुनिया। रम दम दारा रम दम दारा रम दम दारा रम दम दारा।